Don Kraft is, yeah. Don has been just an iconic leader in our community for decades and decades, and especially in the Rotary Club of Seattle. So when Don came to me before, well, partway through my year as president, and said, hey, I'd like to do a little segment every once in a while on the history of our club so we don't forget it, so we can celebrate it. So his segments are called 4 Bits, and this is another edition of that. So Don, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Since when did 92 years old get to be a laugh line? Taylor, I'm working on Jim McCurdy's record in this club also. And I already took away one of your records. I was 21 with that classification advertising when I came in Rotary. On February 28th, 1985, the featured speaker at this club was Justice Charles C. Smith, speaking on the subject of Black History Month. Judge Smith was highly respected as our state's first African-American Supreme Court justice, and one who had worked tirelessly for causes of social justice and human rights for nearly 50 years. He ended his talk by challenging us Rotarians to do 3 things. 1, check the rosters of the organizations to which we belonged. Number 2, check our employee rosters of the places where we worked. And number 3, read just 1 book on African American history. As the meeting ended, I made a beeline to Luther Carr. I wanted his advice on what book to read. He said Francis was the family authority on Black history, and he would get me a book. Francis is with us today. Welcome, Francis. That's a bigger applause than I got. She's one of Seattle's treasures, who among other contributions she's made, which are many to this city, she served all 8 years as executive assistant in running the city alongside of Norm Rice. At this point, I want to tell you a little bit more about Luther's background. I'll come back to the 1985 and the Black History Month. He was a 4-sport star at Lincoln High School in Tacoma, which is tough to do. If he concentrated a little more time on track training, many think he would have made the 1956 Olympics. He had, after all, set state records in the 880 relay, the long jump, and the 100-yard dash, that last one in 9.9 seconds. But track wasn't even his number 1 spring sport. He played baseball for Lincoln and the Cheney Studs semi-pro team. He was so good that Branch Rickey came all the way to Seattle to try to recruit him to play for the Dodgers. And he turned him down. But football was the big deal. There was quite a fuss over who he was going to play halfback for. One day it was UCLA, and the next day it would be Illinois, but he finally settled on the hometown Huskies. Luther was probably the best player on the team there in the middle 50s. They called him Hit and Run Carr. After a great 4 years at the UW, he signed with the pros and played halfback for the Oakland Raiders. Now back to 1985. Luther showed up with a book and another one and another one and another one and another one. I've never been known as a speed reader, but Luther said, "Hey, Don, these are Frances's favorite books, and she expects you to read all of them." Well, I hung in there for quite a while, and I finally made it. Now, when Luther's football career ended, he came back to Seattle determined to do what he could do to uplift people and to bring them together. That should been his classification in Rotary, uplift and bring together. He started a construction company which provided jobs that were much needed by a lot of people. And he also started an unparalleled civic career. In 1970, he became the second black member of this club. He was board chair of United Way of King County, and he was on the board of Goodwill for 36 years, which Ken Colling he had to explain it to Ken when he arrived. Luther Carr was a huge help in a lot of parts of this town. Now, believe it or not, Luther is the first black person I ever met. At Roseville High School, our only non-Caucasian was the student body president, a kid named Wing Luke, and a really good kid. When I didn't meet any blacks when I went to the university or even in the Navy. It was how segregated things were in those days, and or in my early business years. Luther and I finally met through the UW Alumni Association and became good friends for a long time. Incidentally, Frances's niece became the first black employee at our advertising agency. You know, as I think about it, a tremendous amount of good has happened in human relations in the Northwest since 1985. Maybe we still aren't reading a lot of black books, but the next two presidents of this club will be women of color. Stand up, stand. Justice Charles Z. Smith is now a part of black history. And in my opinion, so is Rotarian Luther Carr. Thanks.
Thank you, Don. That was really cool. Don Kraft, I love those 4 bits. Okay, now we're going to learn a little bit more about what's happening in Seattle this summer. If you know our member, Beth Knox, you know that she is not only the most capable person you've probably ever met, She's also wicked smart and as nice as the day is long. She's got a wonderful set of skills. Beth is the current president and CEO of Special Olympics USA Games. Many of you know Beth as the former CEO of Seafair. She has more than 30 years experience planning and executing large events. That's her sweet spot. She happened to plan that big Seahawks Super Bowl parade. Can you imagine doing that? I think we're going to need some barricades. That's where I would start. So she's going to talk a little bit more about what's happening, and then we'll get to the rest of our program in just a bit. Please welcome our member, Beth Knox.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. You know, it was about 2 years ago that I was here with fellow Rotarian Dave Lennox, the CEO of Special Olympics Washington, and we were giving you a little preview of what was ahead for the 2018 USA Games. And it's just been such an amazing journey that I've been on the last 2 years. And I have to just give a shout out to first Dave's predecessor, also fellow Rotarian, Beth Wojcik. She's the one who submitted the bid to Special Olympics International to host the Games in 2018. And before that was completed, she retired from Special Olympics Washington. Dave took over that role and accepted that challenge to see the bid through. And then once the bid was awarded to Seattle, that's where I came into the picture. And it has been truly a privilege to certainly come from the special events world, but now be part of the Special Olympics world as well, and be more educated about the work that Special Olympics Washington does in our state for all of our athletes here in the state of Washington, 17,000 now that are part of Special Olympics, and of course many more that we want to bring into the fold, and we do hope to encourage that through the awareness and visibility of the USA Games. But then also to be part of the movement of Special Olympics International and the amazing work that they are doing worldwide. So just a few quick highlights of what to expect at our games this summer. So first of all, let's see if we get the clicker going here. So I think it's really important to understand the primary goals or what's behind Special Olympics USA Games. We, of course, are focusing on the athletes. These are athletes with intellectual disabilities. Quick point of difference, many people are not clear on the difference between Paralympics, which is for individuals with physical disabilities, and Special Olympics for intellectual disabilities. But it's also to really promote the message of inclusion and acceptance through sport. That is the playing field that we're working through. And then also the power that the Special Olympics movement has to transform our lives. So I'm going to start us off with just a short video that will set the stage for the USA Games.
I'm from Seattle, and hosting the USA Games, it's the greatest thing ever.
It's an honor having Seattle host the game for the first time.
This is going to feel like the actual Olympic Games. Crowded, crazy.
I feel great. You know, I waited for 25 years to have this here. It's huge for a lot of people.
The competition is really fun, and it's really cool to be out there for the crowd.
You want it so bad. You work hard, it's going to pay off because you're in the gym day in, day out.
We work together, we train together, and we play together, and we work together as a team.
Being invited to the USA Games is great because you get to show the city, the nation, the world what you can do.
All right, this tagline, Rise With Us, is an important part of what to expect. We see the Special Olympics athletes as they're already up here, and we are inviting the rest of this community to rise with them. So the numbers, so just you can kind of get a sense of the what's to come. Allison, can you click one more? So the dates, July 1 through 6. Athletes arrive on the 29th and 30th, and we will be all week long. We'll have 4,000 athletes and coaches, 3,000 athletes, and there are 1,000 coaches that will be coming with them to compete here. We will have 10,000 volunteers who will be supporting the games, and we actually are going to have far more than that who will ultimately be involved. We've got a number of different ways that you can serve in that volunteer role. And another 10,000 family and friends who are going to come from across the country to cheer on their athletes and support them while they're in Seattle. 50,000 plus fans will be supporting Special Olympics through opening ceremony, being part of that amazing event, and then attending the competitions all week long. We'll have 14 different sports competitions. And really the ultimate impact from an economic standpoint, which is to me just the icing on the cake, is a projected impact of $76 million. But the real important piece here is the thousands of lives that will be transformed by being part of this event. So competition and event venues, University of Washington will be the venue where all the athletes and coaches will be housed, and half of the 14 sports will be at the University of Washington. We'll also have competitions and special events at SPU, Seattle University, Celebration Park and King County Aquatic Center in Federal Way, Seattle Center, Willows Run Golf Club out in Redmond, Kenmore Lanes, because you have to have bowling. Angle Lake Park is in SeaTac, and that will host the first ever stand-up paddleboarding competition in a USA game, so we're very proud of that. And then Lake Union Park, which is next to the Museum of History and Industry at South Lake Union, that will be the site of our closing ceremony on July 6th. So some special events just to keep in mind. There's lots going on that week, but a few things to note. The law enforcement torch run final leg. The final leg will bring in 80 runners in law enforcement, as well as 6 Special Olympics athletes from every state in the country, and they will be coming to Seattle, to Washington really, and running for a period of 4 days to 30 different communities throughout the state. They will be carrying the torch that will build anticipation and excitement for the USA Games, and then ultimately come into Husky Stadium on July 1st to light the cauldron, which will kick off the games at opening ceremony. So wait, go back one more, I'm sorry. A couple other things just to take note of. Opening ceremony is going to be a very big deal. And I want to invite each and every one of you to be part of that. In Husky Stadium, tickets are only $20. It's a great way to bring the family, be part of this event, and most importantly, give a show of support from Seattle to all the athletes who will be competing in the games. A few other things that we have throughout that week. We're not just sports. We have healthy athlete screenings, and that actually is an area where we could use more volunteers, medical professionals who are able to be part of the screenings that many of these athletes don't have access to in their communities. Our Future of Inclusion Forum will feature thought leaders talking about where the message and idea of inclusion is going into the future. We'll have an Independence Day celebration and dance party for the athletes on the 4th of July. And Unified Sports Experience is another opportunity for the community to get involved. This is where we bring together individuals with and without intellectual disabilities on the same team, on the playing field, where we can just have fun together. And then Thursday night, July 5th, will be Special Olympics night at the Mariners, and folks are welcome to join our athletes and coaches there. And then, as I mentioned, closing ceremony on July 6th. So the legacy is something that we are very cognizant of. What are we leaving behind when the USA Games is done? We want to have that impact in a number of areas. We are known for our sustainability and our technology here. We want to incorporate that into the games and leave a low-impact footprint from that perspective. We want to have a memorable and extraordinary experience for the athletes and their families. and most importantly, to set the stage for Special Olympics Washington so that we are bringing more awareness, more athletes, more donors, volunteers, coaches, et cetera, to support the athletes in our state. But the ultimate thing that will happen throughout this area is this message of inclusion that will be integrated into everything we do and leaving this community changed in a significant way. We hope to really set an example as a city of inclusion for the rest of the nation. So how can you get involved? There's so many opportunities, but certainly we have opportunities on opening ceremony day. We will have a 1 mile, Carlin, cheer line? 2 mile cheer line. All the athletes will be walking from their housing residence halls at the UW down to the stadium, and we will have a cheer line that extends that entire path. So right now we have 2,000 people signed up. We could easily take another 2,000. So it's a great way to set the stage for those athletes coming into the USA Games. We will have a 2018 person choir that will be performing at opening ceremony. So for all of you who, whether you can sing or not, you can have your voice be heard as part of this choir and join in with that amazing aspect of the opening ceremony. Fans in the stands, we want to make sure that all of our venues, that the spectators are packing the house to cheer on the athletes. So you can actually sign up to be a fan in the stand. You can make your cheer cards in advance or on site at the event. We'll provide the supplies, and you can be there to cheer them on. And also I mentioned the medical professionals, to be part of that, to just come to the competitions. Competitions are free for anyone to be part of. And the last one I would mention is our 2018 club. This is a way for you to not only be engaged and support the athletes, but provide a financial contribution as well. And there are different levels for, based on your ability to participate, provides tickets to opening ceremonies, access to the venues, and again, those contributions support the athletes that we are paying all expenses for from the moment they arrive in Seattle. Please follow us on our social media. We'd love for you to be part of the promotion and building the anticipation for the USA Games. So with that, I am going to introduce your next speaker, who's just going to talk a little bit about his experience. Ray Roberts is a Seattle Seahawk legend and a USA Games ambassador. Ray?
Thank you, Beth. Every time I come and speak, I always have this well thought out plan of something I want to say, and then I come and I hear things that change what's important to say. And there was a young man up here, Mr. Kraft, I think it was, and he was talking about a lot of first. The first, black athlete at UW, or the first black member of the Rotary, or the first Supreme Justice black Supreme Justice of the state of Washington. And I started thinking, in order for those things to happen, there has to be transformation, like transformation in how you think, how you see things, how you process things, how you value other people, and how you value difference. And when I think about my experience as an ambassador for the USA Games, it has done exactly that. Coming into Special Olympics, I didn't know anything other than just being a presenter of the medals at a couple local events. But having been an ambassador, I've been transformed. And that's where change happens. It's a personal thing first. And by me being an ambassador, I've met some really cool people. I've met some amazing athletes, and I've had an opportunity to see a platform that's been developed for a segment of our society that gets overlooked. But it's a platform that's giving them voice, it's giving them space to express themselves, it's giving them space to succeed or to fail. And I get to be a part of that. And that is very transformative for me. It changes my mindset, which then changes my thoughts, which then changes my actions. And so instead of doing inclusion, I become inclusion. And so, thank you. And so my challenge to you guys today is that if you want that kind of transformation, I feel like I'm giving a sermon. If you want that type of transformation, then you should engage the games that way, with your time, with your energy, with your resources, whether that's something that your business offers or your financial resources. Go grab your friends and your families and your coworkers and round them all up and jump in feet first. And don't worry about where you're swimming to. Just get in and start swimming, because you will be transformed by it. Speaking of sermons, I was thinking about this last night. I was driving home, that by supporting the games and supporting the athletes of Special Olympics, it's like that verse in the Bible where it says that he gives you life, but he gives you life more abundantly. And by supporting the games, you're giving this group of people abundant life, right? Because they get to do all those things that you get to do. They get to succeed or fail or try or overcome, all those different things. So my challenge to you guys today is to jump in that way. And I meant to do this last night, but I'm going to do it today. The other challenge is that I'm going to join the 2018 club. And so I'm going to challenge everyone else in here to do so. And so I'm going to keep track somehow. And I did play football at one point. This body can produce a lot of pain for people that don't do what they want to do. So thanks for having us here. And I look forward to you guys joining me in the 2018 club. And I look forward to seeing your faces out volunteering at the events. I look forward to seeing you in the stands clapping and cheering. I look forward to seeing you on the 2-mile-long walk into the stadium doing opening ceremonies. And I will enjoy having a toast with you at the end. All right? So thank you. Oh, and then we have a Special Olympic athlete here that's going to share some of her experience, Devin Adelman.
Hi, everyone. You may think you know about Special Olympics. You may know it was started by Eunice Kennedy Shriver in the 1960s in her own backyard. That it has grown to be an international organization. You may think it's a kind, sweet program for individuals with intellectual disabilities. But did you know that Special Olympics is the biggest healthcare provider in the world for people with intellectual differences? Special Olympics athletes are far more likely to be employed than those not involved with Special Olympics. Special Olympics has a Special Olympics now has leadership and advocacy training. Special Olympics has a new young athletes program for ages 2 through 7 with and without disabilities. Project Unified teams have people with and without disability on the same team. Special Olympics changes lives. It has changed mine. Some of you may have heard my story, so it's a good story, so I can review it. Growing up was great. I was surrounded by my family and my friends. Some spots were rough, but they kept believing in me. The beginning of high school was my dark time. I was bullied. I was called stupid. I did not like myself. It was a black hole. Then I found Special Olympics. It changed my whole entire life. I felt better about myself. It became a family of friends. I started with skiing. I became a cheerleader. Then I found out about Unified Soccer, which led to Project Unified and athlete leadership as well. Since finding Special Olympics, I graduated from high school. Then after that, I went on to graduate from Howard College. I spoke at the UN in New York City. I went to the White House for the Beating the Odds. I became a USA Games ambassador. And the Rotary actually helped me to actually get my first job at Universal South. Rotary helped me get there. It starts with sports, but it's so much more than that, though. It is a place where we can learn new skills, make and keep friends for life. Try, possibly fail, but get to try again. It builds confidence within yourself. Learn skills for life. It also creates inclusion for all. And that is just the beginning. Special Olympics has changed my life. Now it is your turn, so let's shoot for the stars. The 2018 USA Games is a chance for us to make a lasting difference. A difference in each of the athletes' lives, of course. But so much is possible, though. This is our chance to show that diversity really matters in this world. Inclusion and acceptance of people different than ourselves is what community is all about. We can show that the USA is better than the fights and division, that we care about each other, and that we are unified. So be a volunteer and sign up. Be a coach. Cheer on the athletes and be proud of them. And bring your friends, but most importantly, don't miss out. With your support, Special Olympics, USA Games can really create a community of all people where everyone is valued. Thank you.
Devin, you are an inspiration to us. You are incredible. And Ray, thank you. If this, I could see Ray as a pastor somewhere. I'd go. And I'd give. That's awesome. So, Devin alluded to this story, and I think the story of Special Olympics is really an amazing story, and Tim Shriver is such a big part of that, and his family, his mom, started Special Olympics. What started as Camp Shriver in the backyard in 1962 became Special Olympics in 1968, and it was that family and Eunice's passion and vision that really got it off the ground. I'm going to introduce Tim and also Karen. They really don't need much of an introduction. Tim is the chairman and CEO of Special Olympics. In that capacity, he serves nearly 3.5 million Special Olympics athletes and their families in more than 170 countries. He has helped transform Special Olympics into a movement that focuses on acceptance, inclusion, and respect for individuals with intellectual disabilities in all corners of the globe, including places like China. Karen Moyer, in my mind, is one of the most beloved figures in Seattle philanthropy. I think we first met about 15 years ago when I helped out the Moyer Foundation. But I think her Twitter profile says who she is best. Mom of 8, advocate for kids, families, and communities everywhere. Karen has done so much good through the Moyer Foundation, which serves kids in grief, kids battling disease and addiction. I had to double check her bio because the number of children she has adopted seems to change almost yearly. It's now up to 8 kids in all. Please welcome Karen Moyer and Tim Shriver.
Thank you for that introduction. It's always a pleasure and to be back in Seattle. And the You Are My Sunshine was so special. I couldn't help but bring a tear to my eyes because my number one, that's what I used to sing to him all the time, Dylan James, who's going to be 27. So what an honor to be sitting up here with you and the family legacy, truly. We've been together for about 24 plus hours, and I am really, really inspired like you, Ray. I'm an ambassador, and I'm going home changed and advocating for just something that's existed for a long, long time that I'm hopeful that we can be a part of this movement. And so with that being said, welcome to Seattle.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It is a great, amazing, giving community on so many levels for so many great causes. And what I know about this place is that it is full of people with amazing time, talent, and treasure to share. And what we want to know is how we, as a city of Seattle, can do that for you in the games coming here in July.
Well, thank you, Karen, and thank you, Devin and Ray, and all the speakers, Beth presenting so thoroughly about the movement. You know, I was struck by the fact that, was it Justice Taylor? Is that right? Justice Smith, sorry, Justice Smith came and he left.
Taylor's the new member.
Oh. Okay, I was writing, but I was distracted because I was paying attention to the, I should have written it all down. But like Ray, I was struck by the transformation you described. But it started, at least at the club, with a request for 3 things, and I think 2 of them were check the roster. I didn't get the third one.
Read one book.
Read one book. Okay. The reason I forgot that, because I want to ask, in answer your question, for you all to check your rosters. I want to repeat the request. I want you to check your rosters. I think in the next year, I'd like you to think that almost every roster you could check could change. First, check your employees. The impact of the members of this club hiring in your respective businesses, one person, just one Devin, one of the athletes of this movement who live and work and want to work in this community. The impact of each of you or your respective businesses hiring one person would be a transformational change. The impact of ensuring that the rosters in your schools for sports teams have opportunities for young people with intellectual challenges to play on unified, what we call Special Olympics unified sports teams. If every school in this city had a roster that included a Special Olympics unified sports team that had young people, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, with and without intellectual disability playing basketball or flag football together, it would have a transformational effect on this city and the country. So I hope you'll check your rosters. The reason I forgot the book point is because there isn't a good book on the history of people with intellectual disabilities. There are some academic studies that will give you the litany of problems, the institutions, the sterilization programs, the almost torture-like abuse that people with intellectual disabilities faced. But in terms of a popular book, actually I could self-promote. I have one. Hadn't even thought of this. Actually, I have the third. Buy my book. Check your rosters is the most important, and make sure that your roster also, check the roster of people going to the games. As Beth said, come, just show up. If you're leaving work someday, you can't work it into your schedule to do the whole kit and caboodle, and it's a Tuesday afternoon and it's 5 o'clock or 5:30 or 6 o'clock, and you check the website and you know that there's a basketball game going on, stop by, park your car, walk in, grab a hot dog, a beer, a Coke, whatever it is you want to grab, and watch for 20 minutes. If that's all you can do, do that. Put that down on your to-do list of things you should and will enjoy having done, and you'll join Ray and me and Karen and others whose lives have been changed by the encounter, by the chance to see. Remember, here what we're describing, as Ray said, is the chance to have your lens changed, the way in which you see the world changed. It's not just behavioral, it's not just do something, it's see something. Most of us have a little blind spot, honestly, when it comes to folks who learn come come and give yourself the chance to have a little bit of a windshield wiper cross your eyes, your vision, and clear away some of the things that blur your capacity to see the beauty of every human being, which is what our athletes will help you do.
Thank you for that. I think 50 years is amazing, and you've witnessed this as a little boy. Seattle has the chance to become the leader in these USA Games. We want to be that leader. Can you help us know between now and closing ceremonies of July 6th, what happens on July 7th, moving forward, that we have set the tone for the rest of the...
Well, I would say the first, maybe the simplest thing is my colleague Dave Lennox, who's a member. Maybe Dave, I'm not sure of the protocol, but can I ask you to stand? Is that allowed? Yes, there he is. So Dave is the chief executive, yeah. You got to get to be 92 to get applause from this group, apparently. It's a tough audience. Dave leads Special Olympics in the state of Washington, which is a year-round program. There are games, activities, training programs every single day of the year. So the big games, the entire nation comes here in early July, but the day-to-day work of transformation goes on every day, and Dave leads it here in the state. So what are the ways in which we can do it? We can have inclusive early childhood programs for every kid in the state. No mother should have to go across town, across the state, to take their 2 or their 3 or their 4-year-old to an early childhood intervention support child care center that accepts them. And today, that's not the case. That should happen, and they should all have play programs that teach kids. Our Young Athletes program is one. We call it Special Olympics Young Athletes. Teaches kids at 2, 3, and 4 years old how to play together. A lot of people here want to serve. Make sure we can do that. Secondly, make sure schools are inclusive, and make sure every school has a unified sports team. I've already mentioned that. Third, make sure that athletes who are training and competing and learning how to prove themselves on the playing field get chances off the playing field. Devin spoke today. She was brilliant. There are many, many sisters and brothers of hers in this movement who could speak here at your Wednesday lunch. Stand alone, right? They don't need a cause to come and talk about it. Just come and preach, teach, lead with their voices in a whole new way. So leadership, inclusion in schools, and inclusion in early childhood programs are the things we think of as critical, and then match that with health, inclusive health, and the state of Washington could become the model.
We want to be that, so thank you for that. We'll make that happen, right, Seattle? Thank you. So what we'd like to do is open it up to question and answers. I think we have time for 1 or 2. We have a microphone. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that because of my experience in Special Olympics, I was inspired to hire an intellectually challenged individual in our company and sustained that for about 20 years. But don't do it as a kindness or an accommodation to the person bringing on. Do it because this individual will be an asset to your business. There's social service agencies that can assist in getting a good match, but I have never had employees more loyal and committed to our company than was the case when we had our intellectually challenged employees.
Great point. And let me just add that what we've seen from businesses now, most of you in this room have either some connection to or leverage at a significant business. What we've seen from the big guys, from the Procter & Gamble's of the world and the Coca-Colas, if you saw the picture of Devin carrying the torch, I know we have to stop. I'm about to finish. Is that companies are getting significant competitive advantage. Significant competitive advantage. You want to be seen at these games for selfish reasons, not just for selfless reasons. I promise you, your customers, your employees, your shareholders, if you have them, if you're a public company, will see benefit from an association with Devon. There is no question about it. The logo of this movement and the athlete leaders in this movement produce gains for businesses. It's time we saw this less as a charity that you ought to do and more as a corporate social opportunity that can drive value to your business in multiple ways.
Fabulous. So as we know, sports does change the world, and Seattle, we are ready to jump in on this movement, Tim. We will make you proud. Seattle, this is our time. We're about 95 days away Devin, you taught me yesterday, and I'm going to just keep repeating this, that we all need to be dreaming with our eyes wide open, and we are going to do that, young lady. And we are here for you. Ray, I accept your challenge. I'm going to be in the 2018 club. You all have these. Take them home. Sign up. Help us help so many. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.